was like, I can't believe this is even a movie.
It was embarrassing.
Not because like any, we already talked about this, but not because of any fanboy stuff. It was just a bad.
It was just a bad movie. It was
bad
not thought out,
movie.
and you go, Ryan Johnson doesn't know what the fuck Star Wars is all about.
Yeah, like they have parking tickets
embarrassing.
in.
Yeah, they have parking tickets,
galaxy,
and they
far,
have
far away, forever ago.
They have it's just a bad movie. It was space casinos. What?
Hi, Lindsay Fry.
What?
All right, we're actually.
Are we live?
I don't have a problem with space casinos.
We're full
I
live.
mean,
I'm Steve Poggi.
Are we live?
Frankie.
Can I just sit here on
Ron.
my phone? I'm just too cool for the moment. Ha cha 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 cha.
Well, it takes a second for everything to get voted up and booted in.
Are we live?
Hi, Lindsay Fry. We're as live as live's gonna get.
Are we underwater?
The thing that sucks though is that
Oh, there we are.
Steve Poggi, fucking Facebook blows.
Can I
Dude.
just sit here on my phone? I'm just
Like you're only allowed to do 720p and you can't do 60 frames per second. Everything else does 60 frame, or you can only do 30.
I'm out of here.
They do 60.
I drove
and
out to
1080p.
here for 720.
There we are.
Well, I have your camera resolution down, so you look like a Minecraft figure. You're only allowed
That's probably an improvement.
720p, and you can't do 60. So, all
That's
right.
definitely an improvement. Minecraft's cool, way cooler than me.
Last Jedi.
Minecraft is just future Legos. It's future Legos.
What did you think with the Last Jedi?
Why are we going back to
Last
the
Jedi. You were talking Rise of Skywalker.
Oh well, Last Jedi.
So Last Jedi,
was
I
such
hated.
a plummeting dip.
I hated Last Jedi so much that
It changed your life.
it did change my life. I
'Cause
just
you
I looked
hated
in the
it
mirror.
that
I looked
bad.
in the mirror and I went, "What the fuck are you doing with your life, you fucking loser?" I go, "You were excited about a movie, a dumb movie?" And then had like that moment where I played some like growing up music and I tore all my posters off the wall.
You had a montage.
I called my mother. I said, "I'm never talking to you again." I might have went a little too far. I might have gone a step too far.
Threw away
You know,
all your toys.
I just called the hospital. I said, "Pull Grandpa off life support. I'm just done
Right.
with all of this."
You leaned out your second story window and shot your neighbor's dog.
Yeah, I pushed Eric Clapton's baby out the window. I did it, and I don't feel bad about it, but I did it.
It definitely made it feel
I
like
just called the hospital. I said, "Pull Grandpa
this
off
thing
life
is
support. I'm just
like
done
it's
with
not worth investing in. Like I wasn't excited for Star Wars after that. Everything that Star Wars related, I was just kind of like whatever. Going into it, I was a fucking
I don't understand. I don't understand why. I mean, I can hate Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Like all by. I don't need to dislike anything else.
excited for.
like
I think
that
it was
hoodie.
because
that'd
I
be like
felt
if,
like
if I came in after Last Jedi and I just started ripping up your
into it, I was
hoodies.
a
You know, get rid of this
Is that
hoodie.
a Star Wars
Steve.
hoodie?
Mandalorian.
Oh, I'm done, dude. We're done.
You'd definitely be the
over,
white
dude.
shit.
Stab you with his pen. Why'd you give me this?
No, it's not that I hated it. It's just that
I do hate it.
the level of excitement and joy and euphoria I felt going into this thing, that I felt like I'd been tricked.
Yes, I agree. Oh, 100%.
Like that was the big thing. Like, what the fuck are you trying to sneak past me? And that's where it ties in to the new Star Wars. Is I mean, everyone felt it because in the new Star Wars, the second the fucking scroll goes, you are 100 miles an hour, to where they don't even get a chance to explain things. They're just like, that's not the way it is. This is who you are. We're going over here. That thing doesn't exist. Like they had to do so much to where if they would have taken the Last Jedi and made it more focused around the Knights of Ren and what they're doing and how things are coming together.
Don't walk on that. Yeah, I got a whole thing.
Going over here, that thing. Okay, because the Knights of Ren were just a blip.
That was, I think, probably the biggest miss in the whole trilogy was they bring in this group of people, the Knights of Ren, and they keep talking about the Knights of Ren. You don't see them do shit.
You don't even see them in
Couple
the
of
second
flashes.
film, in the Last Jedi.
You see them for like a second.
There's
They're
one
not.
group
You
shot.
see them in the flashback of the first Force.
You don't see. Well, that's how much I've closed out the Last Jedi. So yeah, you only see them in that shot, and they're referenced, right? Doesn't Luke talk about them? Kylo doesn't he? Something. There's some sort like when he's talking about the Jedi Temple.
He doesn't mention.
He
the
doesn't
Knights
even
of Ren
mention.
at all.
I don't know.
He
That's-
just says like
That's why
Kylo
it's
and
such
some
a
other
waste.
students didn't upgrade.
Okay, so like here you have these knights, right? And they don't give them any personality, any character. They don't even give them any like cool weapons. It's all just this like a bunch of kids were doing emo cosplay, and they go, get a bunch of big swords and axes, and we'll put some LEDs on there.
And they are.
it
They
was
have
a
the ability to
total
use the
miss.
Force. They can
I mean,
use the dark side.
Well, yeah. I mean, how would I know that? Do I have to,
In the
do I have
Kylo
to
Ren fight,
see
there's
that
one
in some
moment where
cartoon?
he pushes him. Like it's a a very, very minute thing.
So why make it a minute thing? And why, like, that was what I thought. Like, you take like Hellraiser and the Cenobites, the Renobites.
Yeah. In the Kylo Ren fight, there's one.
All those characters barely show up, but they give them so much personality and just one thing. One guy's got big chattering teeth. One guy's big fat dude with tiny glasses. But you give them something, and the characters are way cooler than just a bunch of guys in black masks who never do anything. They really don't. And then they come along and they're like, well, Kylo, at least got to let them kick their asses, right?
All right, we should keep a running tally of things we hate. Number 1 on the list is Knights of Ren.
Knights
Lack of Knights of Ren.
What we're going to do, just introducing something that had potential and then ultimately
Not
went
acknowledging
nowhere.
it.
It never did. Yeah, it didn't go anywhere, and it was just the biggest throw. Like that one moment where they're all standing on top of the rock face, or the
I was gonna say they
Yeah,
did a
the little
group shot, and you
plateau.
go, "Oh shit! Here we
they
go,
come.
dude! Here they come!
And
They're
all
gonna
they-
start, and then nothing.
They just
And then
captured
nothing.
Chewbacca. They just like, hey, you over here.
Yeah, come on.
It was like it was like that band who was like they took a really good album cover and then never learned to play their instruments, and that was
Yeah.
it.
This is a blank CD.
Yeah, you just saw, here's the Knights of Ren with another cut of nothing.
I did definitely see that comparison.
It was a real big, because I thought in this one, I'm like, all right, they're just gonna go for it.
Yeah.
Give them one scene where they're like, hey, Ren, you turned on us, and now we're gonna cut you to bits.
Yeah.
And they're all monsters or something.
That's actually why didn't they do a thing like it's like, oh, he turns good, and now they're against him.
See,
And
that's
now
what-
he's got to defeat his students. Nothing.
That was the thing, the big miss, because like, okay, so we're just gonna go on to Rise of Skywalker, because I don't want to talk about Last
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Okay, so what should have happened in this movie is Rey should have been already turned or already down that path, and Ren should have went after Poo Poo Dameron and
One of them gets caught.
RuPaul
Yeah.
and got those sassy dudes together and went and said, "Hey, I'm the evil guy, but I'm good now. Let's go save your friend." And they're the whole time they're like, "You're bad," and I know he's conflict. It's something they used to put in scripts and movies to make
No,
them interesting.
we're just gonna have them run around the casino for
Well,
no reason.
like the light speed skipping. I would say it's like I enjoyed The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
I thought it's an enjoyable movie.
Better. It was better.
And it was better.
It was better.
And it was like, at least you're kind of in the realm.
I was gonna say the only thing that I didn't like about the Rise of Skywalker is that there was so much to explain and include because of the lack in The Last Jedi. That's the only thing that impeded it, is they had to spend so much. They almost should have done a part 1 and a part 2.
See, and I heard that somebody said, "Why make it a trilogy? We need to do so much damage control. Let's have this be 4 movies.
I think it's just
Let's set this, because think about how this movie, if they had the time to break this up over 2 movies, you could build some suspense. And this one where the Emperor's really got like his shit together and he's about to, pull up his big plane. And then you got another movie. You got your Return of the King to just have one big fight surrounded in a 2-hour movie. Because there's too much. Because JJ's got to do damage control. He's got to bring back the fans that were lost with Last Jedi. And he's got to give a satisfying ending to this.
Why wouldn't
Tragically
they just
bad
run
trilogy.
JJ as the director for all 3?
Why
Here's
didn't
this
they
guy-
have somebody write an outline? Why didn't they have somebody write an outline for a
JJ
trilogy?
did,
There's no, they're
but-
like, let's just wing it. These idiots will watch anything we make. That's what they thought.
I mean, as a Hollywood production company that's centered around, we're centered around storytelling, and you're centered around making fucking money. That's all you fucking care about. So you have a guy. He restarts a new episode in a very controversial franchise where the first 3 movies were loved. The next 3 movies are fucking. There's people all over the wall. There's guys that hung themselves in a fucking Denny's because of Jar Jar Binks.
That's true.
And then this guy comes out, he does a movie, and it's raved, it's embraced, people love it. So you take him off the next project?
But they've always
That
done that.
doesn't
with-
make-
They wanted
Any
wanted 3 filmmakers to do each one so they could put their own little unique spin. And this is how the original trilogy was done. They're trying to do,
But
it was not
also,
George
it was
Lucas
in a
for.
much more compressed time span. The original trilogy
Bingo.
and the prequels came out over like 7 years. This came out over 4 years, so there was a real time crunch.
So was that time process being while this guy is doing this movie and making this, the next director on the next movie can get a jump start?
The question isn't like why do they have a different director? The question is why did they let a different person come in and write their own story in the middle that threw away every part of the first movie and basically spit on it and said, "This is stupid that you even like this." And there's a moment in there where Ren says that he's just like, "Give up the past and stop caring about it. It's meaningless."
And I like that in the crawl. It was like the dead speak.
Yeah, that didn't feel right. Didn't the opening crawl not feel like
It was like
It was very weird.
Yeah, it was like
a lot of
when you-
information.
Yeah, it was like really unfinished homework. Like trying to fit a lot of stuff in there where it's just like, oh yeah, Emperor, he's back. Instead of like in a movie where they would reveal that.
Yeah, that didn't
They
feel
just,
right.
might even get a-
they just said it.
Or end
some
Last
context.
Jedi with a teaser like, uh-oh, the Emperor's coming back, but none of that. We're just starting off with the Emperor's back. There's
think
no
it-
suspense.
And how did he get back? How did he
I mean,
survive?
how much cooler
Like,
would it have
downloaded
been
into the robot.
if Rey would have been on Mustafar? Which they don't even tell you that that's Mustafar. You have to find out later.
Wait, it was?
Yeah, in the very
see, I'm
first
finding
scene,
this out
he's
now.
on and they're like, "What? Why couldn't they?" I mean, how hard
Wait,
is it?
when was he
How
on
much
Mustafar?
time did they wait? In the very first scene, he's on Mustafar.
Kylo Ren?
Kylo Ren.
No, he's on Exegol.
No.
How did he get back?
No, dumbass.
Whoa, we
Oh,
gotta
you mean
see
when
this
he's
again.
fighting
He's getting
everyone?
the
I gotta
magic
see it again,
triangle.
dude.
When he's cutting those
The
guys with the
Wayfinder.
big plate heads.
That's
The
Mustafar.
very first like emo scene where he's just like, he's there, he's all dirty, he's looking.
It was lava-y, remember? It was lava-y.
So wait a
I mean, it was
second.
definitely
So
bad.
all the time they wasted with the jibber jabber and the like the wasted opportunities, they couldn't just have like a little spaceship flying. This is total Star Wars now. A little spaceship,
he's on Exegol.
and then words that go Mustafar. That would have taken like 5
Done that in
seconds.
Star Wars before?
Yeah, I
Have
think
they had
so. I
titles
think there's
in
some.
Star Wars?
Yeah,
They've done that.
they've done that. In Rogue One, they did it. They did it all the time.
Okay, well then, yeah, do that.
Yeah, because I was kind of wondering, like,
Or-
why is this box just out in the middle of
Or
nowhere?
he's in there and he's like flying his thing, and the little like his little evil droid goes, and it's like Mustafar showing up, and then he lands, and then you see the ruins of Darth Vader's thing, and then he cuts those people up, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Rather than they just hammed right into it. Don't tell me they were running out of time because they had all that time with the lip flipping and the. Is he having one of his moods? Mm-hmm. You know it, girl. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? There's way more ways to give this guy personality than to have him go, yes, he is.
It's strange that movies are so concerned about their runtime,
Rather than they just
and yet people will sit down and watch an entire season of a show on Netflix in one day.
But there's a difference
Look at
between
The
binging at the
Mandalorian.
house.
Look at The Mandalorian. You're getting way more than a 3-hour runtime.
Yeah.
So it's not that people don't want it. It's that
And he wasn't Return of the King
Return to the King.
incredibly long.
It was 6.5
incredibly
hours.
long.
It was
It's
4
actually
days. 4
Everything
days.
was
you're
6
still
hours.
watching it right now.
It's
Yeah. I did pause.
one leap year.
You're still in the theater.
It's 2 movie tickets. You
There's-
gotta buy 2 movie tickets.
Frodo,
That's how big it is.
you're still
I don't know.
here.
So, another big part of this movie was the transferring of life essence. So from what I
Doesn't
could
that ruin
understand,
everything though?
I don't.
Doesn't that
I didn't have a
ruin
problem with
everything?
that.
From what
And
I
knew when I saw
understand
the
is-
big snake, I was like, "Oh yeah,
but like, because even back,
she's
She's
gonna
gonna
tame
heal
the
that.
serpent."
Yeah, dude.
even in Return of the Jedi, when Palpatine's like, "Strike me
Feel
down,
better, Snaky.
and I'll come more powerful than you, or you'll be more." I never understood. Like, I was always like, "Isn't he gonna kill you if he kills you?"
But isn't the Force kind of like Superman, where it doesn't matter what power they show up with? He's like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Well,
That's what they
from
turned
I
it into.
understand-
That's what they turned it into.
I don't have a problem with that.
Fast and
because
loose with the rules.
If you could do something with it, it's okay. If you do something with it, it's fine. I don't think that there's a problem.
Well,
with
from
that.
the way I understood it is if you were a Jedi, you could transfer your life essence to somebody else. All of it or a certain amount. That's why
That's right.
Rey heals Kylo, and Carrie Leia does some huge thing where she transfers over to help like block out the dark side and appear as Han Solo to
No,
Kylo
that wasn't
Ren.
Leia. That was a memory.
No,
and they had
that
to
was
show it.
100% Leia. That's why you don't see
No, he
Leia's
makes sense
body
because she doesn't disappear until the end.
until Kylo Ren.
She's still there, and then she's like
See-
basically extending her force umbilical to him.
Yeah.
No, that
Like,
wasn't
you're
Leia,
still
that
in
was
my
a
space room, Kylo.
And now, on the dark side of things, if Rey was to kill
I actually
Emperor
thought my
Palpatine,
uterus warm up there in a second.
I'm sure you
The
can.
womanly tenderness starts to glow.
With the dark side, though, I guess you have to kill somebody in order to steal their life essence. That's why the Emperor was so hardcore about
The whole
Rey
thing.
killing him, but she didn't kill him. She just deflected his attack back on him. So
Well,
I guess
wait,
the
you're-
Force
you're-
judges
you're
are
ju-
like,
you're jumping,
nope,
you're
not
jumping
gonna
way too
happen.
far ahead there because like the whole thing with the dyad and where you're just like they
The
just kind
Dado.
of noticed that it's like, oh, we're dyads and okay, like
Hasn't
so
been
basically
seen in millennia.
haven't explained anything. You could have taken 2 minutes somewhere in this big heaping mess of stuff.
It should have been done in The Last Jedi.
Or maybe just shave down the alien Molly party for just a second. When you know,
I see. I think they should have kept it generally the same, but all the explanation and build-up should have been in The Last Jedi.
well, it's too late.
When
for
Luke
that.
walks in and
It's too late
sees
for that.
Kylo Ren and Rey talking, that's when things should have been explained.
I would have rather have had a 10-minute court scene with Luke, you know, trying to argue for the Force's freedom or something, and just explain some of this shit with some gavel pounding or whatever. You know, I mean, look at Rogue One. It's the model of simplicity. Every time something happened, somebody explained the shit with a line.
Yeah, but Rogue One had a simple idea.
They had a
in
robot
that, hey,
go,
we
"We're
need
going
you
to
to make
space."
a movie, and all you have to do in the movie is make sure at the end they get the Death Star plans. There's an explanation for why none of these characters exist.
But they
further
still
on.
do a whole bunch of stuff along the way. And if
Yeah.
you look, and I'm talking more about the tone and the cadence of the movie. You keep going back to, oh, they had all this stuff to explain. You can explain things. This is the thing about movies. Maybe it's been lost somewhere in SpongeBob or Rick and Morty or some of this stupid crap has destroyed writing because everything's about quipping back and forth. And it's like you can explain things in movies by having the characters do things.
Yes. Visual storytelling,
They
not just
do
flat out
things.
saying it.
So it's like you show up and Rey's like, "Oh my god, we're fighting," and like she discovers the dyadity or something. Instead of making it all about these stupid triangles,
The MacGuffins. Just
Yeah.
constant MacGuffin.
there was so many.
That's all it was.
It was like they were like, get as many, like we're gonna blank C-3PO's memory, and then we're gonna kill Chewbacca, and then like 10 minutes later, none of that's gonna matter.
That's what I'm saying. I go, oh, we're going to lose C-3PO. We're going to lose Chewbacca. We're going to add some weight to this. No, we're not. no, we're not. There's not really
When I
anything.
saw that ship crash, I was like, damn, man.
That was
they went
heavy.
for it. Yeah. And I was like, good. Good.
Add
Not
some
'cause
weight-
'cause
add
I
some
don't-
weight to
not
the
'cause I don't
story.
like Chewbacca, but because I know that, like, in a story, it's like, oh, Chewbacca will be back.
Yeah.
But it'll be in a real cool moment. But no, it wasn't. It was just like 10 minutes later, she looks up, she's like, Chewie, are you there? Am I using my superpowers to? Oh, I got you. I'm gonna go up there and get the magic dagger, and it's all gonna,
That's my biggest complaint with Disney Star Wars is that they know it's for kids, so they're gonna add some weight to the Now the original 4, 5, and 6, they're for kids, but they still had some serious stuff go down. There's still some weight. There was actual danger
How
on
do you
the
explain-
line, and in this one, it doesn't feel like you're ever really in peril. There's no real. I mean, everything is overcome easily. Anytime you think something bad's gonna happen, well, it's not that bad, and it's easily overcome. I mean, think about it. Like if they would have actually got rid of Chewie and really deleted C-3PO, you have some weight to it, but they're too scared to go that far. It's about to die.
a lot of nightmares.
They're just gotta. I mean, it's a soft, poorly made trilogy
But how do you explain like the Mandalorian and Rogue One? Where
because
they get
they're
the
run by
tone so
people who
perfectly?
understand that the large majority of Star Wars fans are dudes that are our age and they want real stories with actual.
Well, The Mandalorian
Wait
doesn't
for it.
really have a story. He went on a bounty hunt that went bad, and now he's just going from place to place, and a little story plays
But
out.
don't you think the tone is
But
way
what's
better than
wrong
what
with
they
that?
pulled off in the movies.
Well, with the tone, there's more risk because he doesn't have any special powers. He just has armor and a flamethrower watch.
That is crazy. Like the two of the best properties don't have Jedis at all. in
Right.
any fashion.
The Jedi shit got really convoluted, and there's a bunch of Jedi, then they got wiped out, and only certain people can be Jedis. Well, the bad guys, there's only 2 of them at any time. Only 2.
Well, you got to blame George Lucas and his inability to write.
I blame
anything.
LSD, because that's clearly what George Lucas
No,
was
he
on.
wasn't doing that,
No.
dude. Star Wars would have been different.
It would have been great.
It would have been Brazil.
That would have made more sense. I mean, Brazil has got a great story that unfolds, and they go down different weird paths, but
Yeah.
it stays with it. I mean, and as convoluted as it gets, and when it turns back on itself in the end, and the guy's just been sitting in a torture chamber the whole time,
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense because that's kind of the story they told. Life is a torture chamber,
Yeah.
and there is no meaning to it. Even if you do find that one person that you think you love, she turns out to be a mean lesbian.
Isn't that life?
Story.
Isn't that life in a nutshell?
It is.
Oh my god, every summer.
It makes perfect sense.
No, listen here, George Lucas.
Kind of the story.
The way I see it, he's an accidental genius. He created this thing that was outside of his own capabilities. He kind of stumbled upon it, and then he was surrounded by people that helped him craft his vision. And then when he went back to do 1, 2, and 3, people were too scared to tell him, hey, maybe you ought to pump the brakes on this angle, maybe you ought to change this. And he's not really like a dominant guy. He's kind of like a quiet. You watch the behind the scenes of episode 1, he's going, if I forget to say cut or action, just go ahead and step in for me. It's like, that's not how you lead people. That's
I
not how
think-
you do it.
I think he was just so focused on the special effects and the technology.
Which made the movie. It has a big part
So
to
then
do
when
with the
people are
movie.
like, wait, should we be doing this? And it's just a couple of guys in a blue warehouse, and he's like, no, you got to imagine, there's going to be this thing coming over here, and all this shit's going to come down here, and this is going to shoot. So they're like, all right, yeah. I mean, special effects.
No, it was a collaboration
But-
that made it great.
I
And he had too much
think
power
you're
to
right,
agree.
Frankie, because
He's an accidental genius, dude. And people gave him too much credit, and I think some of it went to his head. And here's the other thing, man. You cannot be a billionaire for 20 years and still be as good as you were back when you were hungry for it. It happens with bands. It happens with everybody. When you get your success and you sit in your success and you've been in your mansion, you will lose your edge because there's no more struggle anymore.
that's what
There's
happened
no.
to Rocky.
It's what happens to everybody, dude.
Well, 4, 5,
Until
and
Rocky got
6.
HGH.
I don't know,
5,
man.
and
That
6
Rocky
is-
speech. What was that Rocky speech where he's yelling at his kid? That was a pretty good speech, dude.
Well, in 4,
Stallone still
5,
got
and
some of
6,
it. He's still got some of it, dude.
They're
Oh,
not
did you
traditional
see him
films.
the other day? He was on
happens with everybody.
Instagram and he
When
was
you get
at
your-
the Rocky statue.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it looked like he had like eaten like some sort of like neurotoxin. His face was paralyzed and he was just like, these people are great.
happens to everybody, dude.
And he had the hat on, you know, it's just like do you have a personality outside of like
That Rocky speech. What was that?
Well, but in Star Wars, in episodes 4,
Sorry,
5,
sorry.
and 6. No, it's all right. I understand your brain dead. In 4, 5, and 6.
here's the whole meme.
They don't
Steve.
follow the traditional Hollywood storyline. The traditional storyline is this happens, there's a love interest.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like, I mean, at the end of episode 5, it ends with everybody being fucked over. One of the heroes is taken away, another one got his arm cut off by his dad. Like, you don't really see movies that end with that level of tragedy, especially in Third Time, where they didn't know if Harrison Ford was going to come back for a third movie, or you know, it had a certain level of risk taking to it, where everything that we have now is played really, really safe.
But it's because it's about the money. It's because
Like-
movies are hundreds of millions of dollars go into it, and so you got to play it safe because this is an investment, and business people don't give a shit about the art of it. They
Here's-
want a return on their investment.
Here's a perfect example. In the end of the movie, there's a scene where 2 lesbian resistance fighters kiss each other.
Yeah, but
And
JJ's patting himself
says-
on the back, going, "Look at how progressive I am. Look at how."
No.
Meanwhile, this is a scene that could easily be cut for the foreign market. So
Yeah, and the foreign market allowed it, but JJ said, I had this scene in here because I wanted LGBTQ to feel represented.
You know what?
And it's like, no, you did that because those characters are in love and they're happy they just survived some horrible, evil thing.
But I also think he
If
did.
you wanted to be progressive, you would have gave him something to do in the movie. You wouldn't just give him some kiss at the end.
I guess the one girl says Leia dies.
No, you know what I thought would have been the
Rise,
best.
dude.
If you wanted to have a real gay kiss in there, they should have had Hux. kiss one of those dudes.
That was the most.
Oh, so the only gay guy in the universe is evil. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, the only gay guy in Star Wars is a Nazi.
He wasn't evil. He was the good guy.
Oh yeah, I hated that. I hated that pathetic. Oh, I'm the spy, and you're dead.
That's the stupid.
That was such a throwaway.
I'm the spy. I knew it.
I knew it.
That's
no,
it.
you didn't. No, you didn't.
That was the stupidest.
It was a waste.
It's a lack of time.
It was a waste.
Well, it's just that Ryan Johnson made him such a pussy. In Last Jedi,
But you
we
could
weren't
have
scared
still
of him
did
anymore, so we
that.
had
You
to
could
have
have
a-
still did that. You just had to reveal it in a different way. But you know, they were just like, well, okay, I'm the spy. And then he comes in and they kill him 5 seconds later. So it's totally.
I found the spy.
Yeah.
I got him.
Done.
Dead. All right, next scene.
And what was with the shoot me in the arm so they don't know? So then he shoots him in the leg, like.
Because it hurts more. It hurts just a little
That's
bit
just
more.
like out of writing for dummies.
I didn't get that at all.
I saw
Save
it.
the
I
cat
saw
page,
they
shoot in the leg.
Actually, I saw it on The Sopranos like the day before I watched. We went to see Rise of Skywalker. It was, you know, they're truck jacking somebody, and the guy that's driving the truck's like, "Shoot me," so they think that I struggle.
No, I've seen that in movies before too, but I didn't know. Like in John Wick,
I got him.
the 3rd chapter, he shoots the Chinese
All right,
guy.
next scene.
And what was with he shoots him once and he goes, "They won't believe it. You got to do it again," and then shoots him in the leg.
Because it hurts more.
But I didn't understand that shoot me in the arm, so they don't think. And he
It's
shoots
just
in the leg.
it's just one of those writings.
Was that supposed to be a gag?
Yeah.
Because I was just kind of left going, what was the purpose behind that?
He shoots him in the leg. Ha ha! Surprise! That's punishment. Like getting shot in the arm wouldn't really hurt. And you should have shot him in the dick.
He should have.
You just wanted to see his.
You don't even know if space people. Hey, look.
You wanted to see his first order.
How do you know that space people even have dicks? That's stupid to assume. It's racist of you to assume that Hux
I don't
even
think it's
has
necessarily
a dick.
racist.
It is. It's space racist. You're a space racist.
You're space racist. Hashtag space racist.
You're racist space.
Spacism is real, Steve.
I mean, all in all, I think it was good, but at the same time, I think it was just
How do you
burdened by a
know
lot
that
of
space
different
people
things.
even have?
Well, hold on, and let's just.
But see, why did you? I mean, like, okay, so when Rey throws the lightsaber into the flaming TIE fighter, and Luke grabs it and says, "Hey,
You should never treat a lightsaber like
that's
this.
the way you do it. That's how you use writing in a story to go, no, hey, that was bad. This is how Luke Skywalker feels. He saved it.
That was a great middle
That was
finger
a great
to Ryan
moment.
Johnson.
I
That was
laughed.
a
Yeah.
great middle finger to Ryan Johnson. I
That
thought
was.
he executed that really well.
And that's the kind of things that you do to rewrite history. You don't have to go back in and do, you know, all of the digging that you're saying that, you know, that they were burdened with.
Really what this was JJ set up a nice, totally fine, safe reboot, and then the next 2 movies are 2 filmmakers fighting. That's what it was. Because think about how many digs there were.
There were a lot of
There were a
digs.
lot of digs. There was a lot of, because Ryan Johnson comes in and goes, "Oh, you set this tie up? Well, screw that. We're not doing that. Oh, you got this? Nah, I don't want to do that. That's stupid." And then JJ comes back and he's like, "What did you do to my? I gave you you fucking read a."
Hey, do me
Joseph
a
Campbell,
favor.
what
Make
you
sure
doing? What
R2D2's on the Falcon there. I got some plot
But
twists
see,
I want to put in.
you know, how do you have like a producer that, you know, is just like, I'm going to give you this $1 billion property, and we want 3 movies out of it, and somehow we
poorly managed.
Somehow we end up with a tank of Snokes just sitting there. Just
That was hilarious.
It was. It
That
was
hilarious.
awesome.
And we're supposed to go, whoa, and nobody went, whoa. We went, okay, yeah, come on, what's next?
Yeah, what's the next
cared.
gag?
Yeah,
I mean,
who
like,
cares?
I wish if they would have had Howard the Duck in there somewhere, it would have really helped.
Did you notice a lot that when Palpatine was talking and the lightning flash, his face was like changing around?
Yeah,
And,
oh
like,
yeah. I really
morphing?
liked the like the indie sort of paranormal thing they did with
like a
And his
horror film.
fingers were all fucked up.
because the electricity, Steve.
But he fell into a beam. Like, shouldn't
And there was extra electricity, so it probably crisped his fingers.
Yep.
I mean, I would expect there would have been more damage, though.
Space fingers.
Yeah, dude.
Space fingers.
Space fingers.
Space fingers.
Babe, they're stronger than regular fingers.
Yeah.
I didn't need that level. You know, I got it. His fingers were all crusty and
I really
missing.
wanted to know how he survived the fall
He's
and a space
We're
station
not gonna.
that exploded.
There's no satisfying answer to that question. Any question that they completely avoided, it's because there's no satisfying answer.
But see, you don't need an answer to that. It's magic. You use
it's space magic.
Okay, that's like saying, like,
Yeah.
I wonder what powers Thor's hammer. Is it like, I I don't, is it quantum space?
Asking how a
molecules?
character survived a seemingly unsurvivable situation.
Not a character. The pure representation of evil, who also said that he had the power to resurrect the dead. How do you know?
Yeah, but to resurrect the dead after being eradicated, like it's one
so
thing.
he's falling. He's like,
That's a good
you know
point.
what? I know I'm going to be totally toast. Calling on the dark side. I beam myself into a clone or something out of here, or into someone else's mind. Like he was going to transfer himself into Rey. How do you know he didn't just force jump into some stormtrooper?
But there was something connecting to that where she had to kill him.
She had to give into her anger to complete the process.
That was to do the whole like super merger of his full powers into her, because she's got huge force powers.
I think that's where you
so
get
he
like
needed
a
her
big
extra
blip,
commitment. See, I can see all of that. But him, what they could have done is had a little moment there and gone back and I'm falling. Not today. Boop, uses his magic and he beams out of there.
Or he's falling and he's about to hit the ground and then he stops. Whoa! And you look over, you see Snoke going like, whoa, 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 whoa. Now we introduce Snoke.
Yeah. Wow, we just
Yeah,
fixed it.
I was wondering if
I was
Snoke-
thinking about that, dude. I could probably shit out a better trilogy. I thought about doing it this afternoon. I was like, before I show up, let's just do a 3 outline. It's so simple, and that's what they didn't do. But I will say this, because we got to bring this up. We at least got to touch on this lightly. Rian Johnson wrote his script only shortly after JJ finished his script. There was no movie being made. Rian just read his script and went, okay, that's what you're doing, and then he did his. He didn't watch the movie and then make his. Yeah. They were writing them at the same time. That's why there's a lot of
bad producer. Kathleen Kennedy needs,
don't even get me
that's
started.
why she's gone and Kevin Feige's in, because they're like, we need somebody who's like can take a really big property and make sense out of it and make movies that actually make sense,
that are satisfying to the fan base.
Like Spider-Man: Homecoming. You didn't have to go in.
Oh, this is your 4th or 5th time referencing. Fuck it, we get it. It didn't show him getting bit by a spider.
We didn't need
You're
to,
still
we
there
didn't
with
need
your
to see
dick
that
hard,
though. We didn't need
watching
to,
it over.
that's what they
Hey.
talked about. We don't need to see that again. We don't
I'm gonna
need
have to
see
tell
Uncle Ben die.
Hollywood about Spider-Man: Homecoming as many times as I have to until
You got to
they
get
the
on
point.
Twitter and get active. Get off of J.R. Moore's page. You're on there all the time.
I'm on Twitter. I'm a very influential person on Twitter.
You are. Everyone's blocked you.
Everybody. My block list is probably longer than my friends. It's Bill Cosby.
I got blocked by John Taffer from Bar Rescue. That was my big thing.
No.
Because it turned out like all of his shit is fake. And Stanhope's the one, not the one, but one of the people that exposed it. They watched an episode, found out where the bar was, Googled it, got the phone number for it, and then on one of the things they were doing, their bartenders were serving underage people. And so Stanhope called up acting like he was the parent of a kid who got drunk at that bar and kept going at him until eventually they had to go, all right, look, the whole thing was make-believe. Like, it was all set up. Like, everyone
That's
was
most
I remember that episode because it was like some Mexican kind of cantina bar somewhere.
Yeah.
And they, even during the show, they had, and Taffer went crazy. He was like, I told you to stop doing this. He sounded like Cartman.
Yeah.
I said stop serving people.
That guy's doing.
Yeah, I can see it, but yeah, I've been blocked by way better people.
That
than
guy's.
Vincent D'Onofrio. Come on.
Vincent D'Onofrio blocked you?
Yeah, because I concluded him on a poll about Elam Garrick, and I guess it was too trivial for his method acting mind.
He goes, who the fuck is this dipshit?
Who's Elam Garrick? He's probably one of the
No,
coolest
who's
characters.
Ron Finger?
No, he's actually a pretty cool guy. He would, I'd, chop it up. But the Garrick thing, I guess, was too much.
Have you caught any hate this week?
No.
You just haven't been going out that
I went
much?
to see Star Wars twice. Man.
I gotta see it again, dude. I really gotta see it again because you can't really digest it all the first time.
No, it was
and it's
really
so much happens.
better.
It's like a shotgun. It's just boom, 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 and you can't. That's what it took with Last Jedi. You have to see it twice to notice the logical gaps where you're like, wait, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, there'll
you gotta
always
see it
be
twice. I've only seen it the one
logical
time.
gaffes. It's trying to get the full explanation of what the fuck is happening.
It's not even logical gaps. Like, okay, so you have Finn, and they, so whatever.
What really happened to him?
Whatever.
He was force sensitive. is what you were supposed to.
And
walk away
also,
from it.
Ray, I gotta tell you something. I'll tell you later.
Yeah,
End of the
forget
movie.
about it.
End of the movie.
No, the worst is how many scenes were Ray.
Yeah.
Ray.
And then she finally is just like, dude, space.
Yeah.
I like this guy better.
Yeah.
Dude, that happens so many
Listen,
times.
the guy who treats me terribly is the one I'm attracted to. And if there's any lesson we're gonna take from the Star Wars universe,
Right.
mean,
Yeah,
come on.
I didn't get the kiss at the end.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people.
What do you
really
mean?
didn't like that.
I don't.
It was like, oh, they liked each other.
Well, they kind of had
Some
a
level?
will they, won't they with their whole like, or you wouldn't mind.
they were
that?
trying to take the whole Luke and Leia thing
And play it out again.
and turn it over and twist. They were trying to get too clever and have this whole like, oh, are they brother and sister?
Yeah.
Is it incest? Is it love? And you're like, you're just. I mean, this is what people who have no touch with reality and what real people like and what real stories are. That's the stuff they come up with. They try to outsmart everything. Where like a guy like John Farvo, a big fat dude, is like meat and potatoes. Don't waste my time.
Regular dude.
Yeah, regular dude. I want to be able to enjoy a beer with this movie.
Yeah.
But he didn't do most of the writing. Most of the writing on that was Dave Filoni.
But
And
he's the
Who
one
should
who
take
said-
over?
The
Who
Clone
should take
Wars
over
and
the
did the
whole?
Rebels.
He's the producer. He's the one who says, Dave, this is what I want. Do it.
Yeah.
Or I'll kill you.
Do it this way.
Do it or you're
hit
out of
this
Hollywood.
tone.
Do
hit this
it.
tone.
Or I'll eat your meat and your potatoes.
I can do that.
And we'll
Chop
wear
you
shorts
up,
in the
serve
winter.
you in my food truck.
What's wrong with shorts
You
in
get
the winter?
chefed
We're
too.
inside a building. Anyway, so back to what we're talking about instead of Steve's petty insults.
Take it easy, Shug.
Like, so I don't even believe this is the end because they right there at the end, another thing that really bothers me about the writing style is they try to drop so many stitches for the future that they don't pick up the ones that they did back there. So then
Sloppy.
we go through all there and then we have Lupita Nyong'o. Is that the
Oh yeah.
so I don't even know it's her.
Maz Kanata.
No. The I don't even know her name. The other stormtrooper.
Jan-
Jen.
Janelle?
Yeah. That's I think Lupita Nyong'o is Maz Kanata, and then that lady is. someone else.
I get that. Okay, sorry, man. You have to erase my racism.
No, it's broadcast. bro.
God damn it.
There's two black women in Star Wars.
So
and
anyway,
one of
so
them's
the
CGI character.
Star Trek. No, I mean the stormtrooper gal. She goes, I don't know where I'm from, and Lando's like, let's find out. So you're like, oh, so like, you're
Yeah,
gonna,
I was like, is he hitting on her?
you're gonna have
Or
another
is he
movie.
really gonna
I
help
mean,
him
basically,
out?
you're like, this is the end, except for all these other movies we're gonna do. We're gonna chase down.
See, that's why Finn was force sensitive.
But
It'll be a new thing with Lando as the Obi-Wan,
you had
that
No.
girl as the new Rey, and then Finn will be a Jedi in the mix.
you had Finn set up with that Rose, so why not just have that be his?
Because that was the dumbest character of all
No,
time.
she was there. It doesn't matter. She's
It
there.
does matter.
She's there. You just take
She's
her.
got to go over the blueprints, motherfucker. You ain't in the Falcon.
That was the fun. You know, like, oh no, I can't go on that adventure. I gotta stay here and do homework.
Yeah.
How they brought Billy D. Williams into it, I thought was very lazy. We're at Space Burning Man, and then we're having our adventure, and then he takes
Where
off his
else
mask. Lando! Like we're all supposed to go, Lando! Ah, he's here! What was he?
Where
Is
else
there a
would
lazier
Lando-
way to...
Where else would
Of
Lando
course
be?
I'm at Space Burning Man. You know, like, well, I'm here to get
I guess
some
it was supposed
pussy.
to be implied that him and Luke were on that planet looking for something.
And he stayed.
yeah,
You know, as opposed to running Cloud City.
Right.
I like it here in the dirty desert.
This on the Forbidden Sex planet with like the elephant people.
yeah, I didn't understand.
I mean, like I'm sure one of those elephant gals who really like.
And how long has that ship sat there? And it still has power,
It's
baby.
damn.
I'm surprised they didn't have an
spaceship,
Energizer
Steve.
bunny come fucking pounding the drum in.
Hey,
I mean, I'm not gonna sit here like watch Star Trek.
You are going to sit there.
Watch Star Trek if you want to quibble.
No,
about
I'm not a
fuel
loser.
problems.
no. Hold on. We got to tap on this because I think it's one of the worst things about the movie, and we are having a crap on Star Wars Fest, and I love it. We got to talk about how poorly they handled integrating Carrie Fisher, the post-mortem Carrie
Man.
Fisher. Those scenes were brutal. Where they cut to her and she's like, I like you. You know, it's like it's not even the right answer to the sentence, and it's like I'm
was-
so lost and confused. What should I do? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it was so poorly done. And I really thought they were just gonna do the one scene. The first time they showed her, it was like, that was kind of iffy. I was like, but they had to do it, and we'll just move on. No, then they show us her over and over and over and over again, and I'm just like, this is so poorly done.
Well, the other thing that's bad is they used deleted scenes that were included in the Force Awakens
special
extras.
features.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cringy, and also too, it reminded me a lot of that South Park episode where Chef's the robot, because Isaac Hayes had left the show, to where.
But they're leaning into it. They're
her,
making a joke about it, and then this is done
doesn't
earnestly.
Look right throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, when you could have easily used Luke to do all that stuff and just brought him back with the Force. It was real. That was more bad writing where they.
No, it was
a
Force. They wanted a female Jedi Master to teach the new female Padawan, because the Force is female, and then she could save the day.
But they wasted that opportunity by not having Leia do that.
They should have had Leia die and brought us.
She should have did that.
Period.
Instead of what they did in The Force Awakens, she should have been doing the master thing there. And then they probably would have had a ton of stuff on the cutting room floor of her to use. But they didn't think of that till late. And it's like, if you didn't think about it, and it really wasn't in there, then why force it in there? Why use a different mechanism to get the same thing done?
Well, I mean, it's one thing to make a movie. It's another thing to make a movie and juggle all this other shit into it.
Yeah, like the political statements and like, okay, see, I don't understand that there's some like, oh, we wanted to include the woman in this.
That's every movie now that's produced for a mass market.
There has to be
feels
some
like
degree
there
of
has to
wokeness.
be a representation of something. Somebody who's watching it has to watch it and go, "Oh, hey, that's the guy like me.
They have to be appeased.
Hey, there I am."
And a lot of the complaints about this movie were people saying that it wasn't. I saw a lot of
wasn't woke enough?
It wasn't, and I saw a lot of articles saying how people were up in arms about how Rey went towards an abusive guy. When if you really pay attention to what's going on, she liked Ben after he had redeemed himself through his actions, and that's who she fell in love with, not necessarily the evil Kylo Ren. But you got these quotas now. And here's the thing: when you're dealing with Hollywood at a certain tier,
Quotas.
that's what I'm
That's
saying.
exactly what it is.
Listen. When you get to a certain tier in Hollywood, you have a checklist that you have to hit, and every movie has to hit it. And it's like they're made by committees. Movies are made by committees. When you're talking about this level, every scene is shown. They get test audience for every scene. What did you like about this? What did you not? It's not like, say you take a movie like The Joker, where it's a low budget, and they're going, we want complete control. Leave us alone. We want to make a movie with, a statement in it that is not going to be ruined by the big studio system. I think the days of us getting big studio movies that are awesome, it might be.
The best days of films were in the 80s when cocaine was currency.
Cocaine was the king of
The
Hollywood.
idea that cocaine is not in Hollywood now is just, it's pure.
No, it is, but everyone's trying to hide it.
Yeah.
But it's diet cocaine.
Everyone's got a
It's diet cocaine.
Everyone's
it's
got a
Coke
camera
Zero.
phone.
It's glucose-free cocaine.
Exactly. Organic.
Yeah.
Or hand-picked, cage-free.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get that with every movie. And the problem with the independent movies, if you watch 20 independent movies, one of them is kind of good. The rest are the fucking most ridiculous bullshit you've ever seen in your life. You got talking coyotes that are lawyers.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous.
That lawyer's good, though. He got me off a bum rap.
I don't want to know what gets you off.
Dude, there's still
He's
guys
honestly
out
thinking
there.
about it.
There's still guys out there doing good stuff. Like, I liked Ari Aster. I liked Midsommar. I thought it was different. Kind of a weird movie.
Ryan Nolan.
There's still good stuff being made. I did like the Joker too, man. I thought Joker was a good
Joker
movie.
is amazing.
It was intense, dude, and you
can't
don't get
watch
that
it
kind of
more than
intensity.
a couple times. Like, that's not a movie. Did I see it? Yes. Did I like it? Yes. Do I want to watch it again?
No, but
Not
you don't.
really.
You don't
It
have
seems
to
like
watch.
another
I mean, there's.
job. It's like mopping a floor, then mopping it.
It didn't
again.
make
It
$1
looks
billion
nice.
without people rewatching it. I mean, that movie has been rewatched.
No, I'm sure there's some.
I think there's a very dedicated fan base that take that movie very seriously.
Yeah.
Maybe even for the wrong reasons.
I mean, people
but-
get tattoos of Columbine. Like, people are going to
Well,
be
hold
all
on.
over the fucking
I don't. Do
Joker.
they? Do they? This is a new day. This is new information.
Did you get something?
Did somebody
Yeah.
get a tattoo of
You
Columbine?
haven't seen that?
I don't know. I don't want to have to. Right before Christmas, I don't want to know this.
Oh yeah.
This is a part of
You're
humanity.
you're
I want to.
derailing our Star Wars thing. I want to get back. It's like Another problem that I have with all movies, but this especially, is like the Robert Downey.
Holy shit!
It's a real thing, bud.
No, this is gonna get a movie too. I guarantee you, they're gonna.
This guy's calves is gonna get a movie.
Yeah.
No,
And just to make it local.
Oh,
the
dude!
Olsen
I mean,
twins
people
play
get
the,
look. I mean,
Dylan Klebold and
people get tattoos.
Elephant.
Of
That's what it
Hitler,
was.
people get
It's a
tattoos
weird movie, though,
of Edward
because-
Norton with a swastika tattooed on his chest, tattooed on their body.
How often does that happen where somebody watches a movie, they get the exact opposite message? They get the exact opposite. That's what they take from
All the
it.
time.
Yeah, I
Almost
think that happened a
every
lot
movie.
with the Joker, dude. I think that happened a lot. A lot of people saw that.
Well, the Joker. Every criticism that I read about the Joker was wrong, and they missed what
They
that
missed the
movie was
point.
about.
I think that was maybe the most misunderstood movie. Well, and it's very much a critique of modern society now.
Modern
and how
society,
many people are being disenfranchised and
how
pushed
you-
to the side. And
how you treat people with mental illness. I mean,
Yeah.
he goes and says it. He's like, "I'm here. You're not helping me, and you're taking my drugs away." And then he goes and shoots somebody in the head on TV. I mean, it wasn't
it's
hidden. It's not a hidden
it's
message. It was a real
it's
clear,
a serious
upfront
indictment
message.
of modern society.
And probably the best movie about mental illness ever.
Probably
The only movie that treats mental illness like it really is,
Yeah.
where they take a mentally ill person and they just show you.
and they show you this is what these people have to deal with, and no one loves him. No one cares about this guy, and he's just discarded by society, and this is what you get.
Well, I think mental illness is really hard to communicate in a movie. That's why I think they gave him the particular one where has the forced laugh that he can't ever stop doing, because it's a cue to let you know that something's. Because normally mental illness, it's all mental.
Yeah.
Unless
Well, they try to show it with this scene. We see this scene, and then we find out later. Well, that didn't really happen.
Yeah, but I mean,
he's
there's-
living in delusions.
how much does he understand of what happens and doesn't happen?
We'll never know.
Well, yeah.
And that's
know
why
what
we
I'm
that's
saying?
why we end in the hospital where you go, was the whole thing? You know what
Just
I'm saying?
him.
Was
Did
it
he
just
kill
him?
that person or not?
Well, yeah,
kill that
he
person?
killed the lady in the hospital because he's got her blood on his feet. Now, he didn't kill Domino because when he walks out of there, there's no blood.
He could have choked her.
But they used blood every time to
That's a
show
good
him,
point. That's fair.
to kind of let you know.
I haven't seen it since I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
I only saw it the one time.
I
I'll
wonder how the
definitely go back and
DVD
watch it again.
sales are going to be for that.
Probably. Really,
Didn't it just
really
already
well.
drop?
No, it's January.
I don't know. I mean, that's the kind.
Maybe
I
it came
don't
out on
really buy
digital then.
DVDs.
It is out on digital, but anyway, I don't believe the Blu-ray is coming out until January.
But that's what I mean. Hollywood, their formula is broken. Every movie that they try not to make, like Deadpool and Joker,
Kills.
They kill and they make
kill.
$1 billion.
I think that there's the people who make the big decisions are completely disconnected.
Well, they had
you
said
live in the top of the Hollywood Hills for too long. You have no idea what America wants.
well, even Ryan Reynolds was like, we really want to do a Deadpool 3, but I don't think we're going to because it's
It would
really
have to be
hard
R-rated.
to do Deadpool because you have to take away all of his powers, and it's like, or you could just make it a comedy. Like, that's the whole purpose behind the character is the comedy.
Yeah.
or just this is why Deadpool is successful, okay? Because it really embraced the material, and then it brought these other side characters in, like Colossus, and it wasn't some guy's vision of Colossus or what they thought Colossus. It was like, wow, this is ripped right off the page.
Right off the pages.
He sounds kind of Russian, and he's giving all these little speeches, and it was awesome. And for one moment, they were like, wow, they really cared about why, why I'm here in the first place. And they just gave it to you. And it wasn't a complex movie. I mean, it's a generic movie. The guy goes, gets his powers, gets mad.
Yeah.
Then he goes and fights the guy at the end. Ooh, wow. And they made $1 billion. Because the stuff that they put in there, instead of trying to like, oh, wait, this is what we'll do to maximize this market. Instead of Colossus, we'll put a Russian guy in a leather jacket with like metal eyebrows.
Well,
and that's what you would
but
get.
They weren't going to make Deadpool until the footage was quote unquote leaked.
Yeah.
After that happened, then they were like, I think people are going to like this.
Yeah, because the leaked footage got 10 million views.
And petitions.
people loved it.
And
And people
all
loved
that
it.
shit.
And they're like, well, okay, then you don't need the formula anymore when someone says, oh, they're banging down the door to get this. But then the weird thing is, as soon as they get that, then then they were like, okay, well now we're gonna make all these changes to make it really good, which really makes it suck. Like Ryan Johnson.
I mean, that whole love angle in that movie in Deadpool was really well done. It made sense, as opposed to like The Hobbit, where they generated some fucking female elf for one of the dwarves to want to finger bang on a starry night.
The Hobbit was so misplayed because you took a short story, a book, a short book,
It's stretched
and stretched it
all
into
it was
3
worth.
movies. They took 3 books and compressed those into 3 movies for Lord of the Rings.
With Lord of the Rings, I mean, if you
And
see
the best one
Lord of the
is
Rings, Peter
Two Towers.
Jackson made the Lord of the Rings, all of the movies, all 3 of them, with miniatures on like a micro budget to show his team what he wanted to do, down to the camera angles that he wanted. Whereas Lord of the Rings, he's come out and said, or with The Hobbit, he's come out and said, he's like, we didn't really have a fucking plan. He's like, we were just, they gave us a wad of money and we were flying by the seat of our pants. That's why it's kind of hokey. Like, I think the first one's all right. Some people didn't like the singing and all this shit. It's like, dude, that's what the books were about. Was the
Yeah, I
singing
love,
and like,
I
It's
love
a
the
lighter,
singing.
it's a
Culture.
lighter story than
If you get mad at dwarves singing, then I don't know why you're in the theater.
they had enough
Dwarves
content with
they're
the
full
other
of
stuff
joy.
they had.
They're jolly.
And greedy.
They're greedy and
There's
jolly.
a jolliness to greed that you just don't see.
I don't think
because you're getting everything you want. It's why would you not be
Yeah.
joyful? You're taking everything you want,
I don't
and you're
think
drinking all
I've
that
seen
mead.
the extended Hobbits.
Don't.
I haven't. I
It's
wouldn't
not.
bother.
I wouldn't.
I like
It's
some of the
not.
stuff with
It
Bjorn,
just
the
doesn't-
shapeshifter.
It just
like,
does not stand
it's
up
better.
against the original Lord of the Rings, because the original Lord of the Rings that Peter Jackson did is a masterpiece. And only as I get older I realize he nailed it so perfectly.
Yeah, and if you look at his film catalog, some of the other films that
He
he's
had
made,
some goofy B horror
Dude.
films, and then they give him
Dead
Lord of the Rings.
Alive
It's great.
is one of the most hysterical zombie. His mother gets turned into a zombie, and in the end, she turns into a giant monster zombie that sucks up the hero in her vagina,
Yep.
and then he cuts through her with a lawnmower.
He's clearly
Like-
inspired by Tolkien in most of his work. That's why eventually
Oh
he
yeah,
went back and pay homage.
the man was a visionary.
If you hadn't tried to make 3 movies out of
I think they had
There's
the
money,
content
though.
to do
the
it.
Battle of
Chut,
Five
ching, they knew the
the
phase
Battle
were
of
gonna
Five
show up for all
Armies
of
was
them.
not enough for a whole movie.
They could have done it in 2. They could have done it in 1. Because think about all the fluff.
You don't even
How many
see
scenes are just
the
complete
battle.
fluff?
Yeah, and that guy on his romantic moose, that elf.
Oh,
Ugh.
Yeah.
but then they, the coolest thing about the Hobbit is the dragon, and they
Did a
break
great
it
job
up.
on the dragon. One of the best goddamn dragons
But they
I've ever
broke
seen.
it up to where they totally, like all the momentum the dragon had. They're like, yeah, you're gonna wait a year to see him for 15 more minutes, and then
Yeah.
it's over. And they're like, dude, they killed the dragon, and that's pretty much
That's
the
the
end
beginning
of
of the second
fucking
one.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first Hobbit that came out, I saw that a couple of different times in theaters. I think I saw it 3 or 4 times because I really enjoyed it. I was excited about it. They had that one guy with that nutsack hanging off his throat that I was kind of like, I don't know about him. But there was a lot of. I think it suffered the same thing as the other Star Wars movies did. Is there's a lot of forced comedy. into
None
those
of the
kind
comedy in
things.
Last Jedi played. None of it.
No.
None of
was-
it. Not
That's
a
the-
single joke
And
hit in the
Yoda
theater.
was really weird. And actually, you know what? When I saw Force Awakens, it showed the Millennium Falcon, and everybody cheered. And then it showed Chewie and Han, and everyone cheered. And then it showed Leia, and it was silent. And then they saw Luke, and everybody cheered. But it was like Leia got no love from the theater that I was in. They were just kind of like,
Okay.
she's changed a lot. She,
I think a part of
not
that is
old.
like, I wish they just would have embraced the fact that Carrie Fisher is a funny little cokehead instead of trying to force her into
Make her
being
this majestic,
a princess.
strong.
It's like if a dude would have been like Carrie Fisher, they would have just embraced that and been like, this guy Shecky, he's weird now. He was this way when he was older. But Carrie
speaking
Fisher
of-
wasn't allowed to be a funny old cokehead. She had to be the princess.
The general.
The
She's
general.
the general now.
speaking of
The
Leia,
general was
The
Carrie
General.
Fisher, I guess, wrote a note some time ago. Did you see this?
Yeah, I saw it right before I got here.
Yeah, and
Wait, what was it?
her
This is
son or
news
her
to
brother
me.
found it. Yeah, the actor's brother, Todd Fisher, found this note that she had wrote before she died. Obviously, because you can't write it after you die. But it talks about the note. It's real short. I'll
Not
read it to
according
you.
to J.J.
It
Abrams.
says, "I am dead. How are you? I'll see you soon. I would call and tell you what this is like, but there's no reception up here. Cut, new scene, new setup, new heavenly location. I have finally got the part that I have been rehearsing for all my life. God gave me the part. This is the end of the road I have been touring on all my life. And that was like a little note.
Okay,
that she
well,
wrote on
first
a
of
piece
all,
paper
I don't
that we
mean to
found.
be judgmental, but she is for sure in hell.
Why?
Sure.
What did she do?
She didn't wear a bra.
nonstop.
That does not get you sent to hell, man.
Okay, first
of all,
God
it does.
made Coke.
God made Coke on the
I don't
sixth day
I'm
and
not-
didn't sleep for 9 days after that.
I'm not going to allow the government's drug schedule to send Carrie Fisher to hell because
Oh, the government didn't have a say in it.
I think she's dead. I mean, because heaven and hell don't exist.
Well,
sorry,
Frighteners?
sorry,
Hey,
Santa
we have
Claus.
We'll
messages
see.
from the chat.
To be continued.
Have you seen Frighteners? That's another Peter Jackson film.
Yeah, that's with Michael J. Fox. It's a ghost kind of movie. It's weird.
Is it good? Is it fucked up?
It's funny.
And then he also says Carrie Fisher was great in Blues Brothers. I don't remember her in Blues Brothers.
Yeah, she comes
The
in at
original
the
Blues
end.
Brothers?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
She comes in at the end because Jake had walked out on their wedding, and actually she's chasing him through the whole movie. Like,
Okay.
she fires a
yeah.
bazooka at him and blows up Elwood's apartment building in the beginning. Then she's kind of following him the whole time, and then at the end when they're in the sewer, and Jake is like, "Oh baby, come on, take me back," and then he just takes her car and drives away.
Yeah.
Or not take. He drops her in the sewage and then walks away.
I mean, with Carrie's role as Leia, like, in the original film, she was like the fun, sassy, rebellious girl who's, supposed to be a princess and all tucked away, but here she is, with a smuggler and a Jedi and they're running around the galaxy shooting up fucking stormtroopers. It doesn't age well into a general position.
It just you don't have to make her a general, but for some agenda, I guess it matters. They're like, she's not just Princess Leia, she's the general now, which is.
Well, I think
I mean,
it's
it's like you're
because-
taking
You
these.
think if we throw out the monarchy, we should have a note about it just if we get rid of
Well,
our...
no,
They're
it's
just
because
taking
Bail
these, like-
Organa was a general, and that
she took
started
over.
everything going, and then she picked it up because she had known him as dad. There's actually a great book in Star Wars called Bloodline, where Princess Leia talks about what it was like to be tortured by Darth Vader and then find out that it was her father. That was some deep shit.
It just
something Disney would never touch.
Your Star Wars military rank is just way too important to some people,
Yeah.
apparently.
Well,
I mean, it's just.
Ron, when you learn how to read, all right, these pathways are going to open up to you. Like, there's another book that is, not an adventure, but it talks about Vader and Palpatine going out on this. Their ship gets shot down and they crash land.
And they're solving a
And
mystery.
they have a group of troopers with them, but the Emperor
Group of
pulls out
troopers?
his lightsaber. And you're not allowed to see the Emperor use a lightsaber. So then, when they were done,
Wait,
Vader
hold
had
on.
to
You're not
kill him.
allowed to see the... You're not allowed to?
You gotta
Not
see.
allowed to see
You gotta
Because
see
of how
the
he uses it?
lightsaber.
You didn't
Because of his own hands.
see.
He uses dual lightsabers.
You didn't see the cartoon that told you that?
No, I didn't.
That was a book.
You got to
I
read
didn't.
this comic book and see this one cartoon to
I didn't.
know. Because you couldn't possibly fit that in a movie. Because then you'd have to have the characters do things instead of just trying to land one-liners.
That is, you're right about the quippy thing. You're
It's
right about it. And can I say who's responsible for this? It's Marvel introduced it. It was so successful. And what do studios do? They did. How many times do you see it where it's like, well, just do that. Do what they did.
Well,
Yeah, it's now
but Marvel
every
wasn't
character.
there in the prequels when you had fucking C-3PO's head land on top of a clone droid. And
That was George Lucas. But
All
I'm
that
talking
kind of
about.
goofy
I'm
I thought
talking
that
about
was
the.
funny.
I'm talking
I
about the
like
new
that.
Star
That's
Wars
one of my
trilogy.
favorite moments. Because it makes sense. It's like, oh, he's a robot head on a different robot body.
And it's funny.
It's kooky. I'm
It
there.
is.
I don't have a problem with that.
The kids laugh.
I laughed.
he's the kid.
I like Tweaky.
I
from
like
Buck
the voice
Rogers.
of the droids, the Roger.
Yeah, that's funny.
Those guys
were
that's
funny.
that's Star
Jar Jar
Wars.
Binks fucking.
No, let's not. Come on.
Come on, Ahmed Best has already had it bad enough.
Yeah, he
Let's
tried to
just
kill
not-
himself.
What did you
Steve.
think of that in Mandalorian when he made fun of that? When he was like, "What are you, a Gungan over there?" Me that don't want to show my face, Bill Burr.
It would have been funnier if it would have been delivered by like somebody who was funny instead of Bill Burr. But
Whoa, shots fired, dude.
I know. Take it easy, Sugarfinger.
Whoa.
it was kind of forced. It was kind of forced.
I didn't think it was forced. I just felt very much watching that particular episode. I was like, "This is Bill Burr in space." Like
But I mean, that didn't. They're bounty hunters.
he just seemed like comedian Bill Burr to me with a gun.
That's what they wanted.
Had,
That's the way they wrote it.
He had 3
There's a
guns.
surprising amount
He
of
had 3
comedians.
guns. He had 2 guns, and then he had one that came over his shoulder. It was awesome.
Not going to help him against the Mandalorian.
No, it didn't really come in handy. That I was like waiting for that one gun to like point backwards and go, Bill, he's behind you. He's doing the behind you thing. But
shifting from the movies to the show, where do you think the show Mandalorian is heading? What do you think is their payoff with this?
Even if the guy just dies at the end,
I feel like the problem with all the shows and all this extra stuff is after it's made, there's some nerd sitting there going, "Well, how come he's not in the movie?" Like that seems to be like everyone's
universal
right.
continuity with everything.
They should have.
Dude, Star Wars has to have the worst continuity.
You know what?
Now it's
any
especially.
I mean,
shit the
how easy would that have been to have the Mandalorian show up in the Rise of Skywalker and do something?
People would have shit their pants.
Yeah,
they would have loved it.
Well, I bet you. I think I've already seen this. They'll say that, oh, his ship is in the background in this scene where all the ships are, because I know the ship from Rebels is in it. Like, what was it?
That was
Rogue
another.
One did a lot of head nods. They actually had the droid from the cartoon. It was in the movie. The ship was in the movie, and then there's a particular scene where they're on the Rebel base, and over the loudspeaker, you can hear them paging like, "General Syndulla, please call," and that was one of the characters from the cartoon. So that had good connections to it. But I mean, Clone Wars was made after the fact, so they couldn't really put it in. But that did a lot to enhance.
I really thought, I loved it when all those ships showed up at the end, but then here's another Star Wars moment where they just missed, and they didn't, the radio call where everyone's like, checking in, Red 2, and they could have went through all those ships and had everybody radio in a little message, and you could have seen the ET ship, and they could, but they
So the other thing is in the scene where
they dropped the ball again.
They go to the bar where Baba Frick is.
Yeah.
The bartender is the composer, John
Williams.
Yeah.
And whenever all the ships show up and Lando's in the Falcon, you see the old white-haired guy.
Yeah,
that's Wedge Antilles,
See,
who was originally with Luke Skywalker.
I caught that line.
I knew he was somebody.
Good
I just didn't know who he was.
Good fan service.
But they could have gave him something to, you could even see him. He's just like, well, I'm here at the end.
Snap Wexley. He's the main character in the Aftermath series of novels.
If you peek at the middle of the movie, you can see Kyle Katarn go into the bathroom, like just right before. Just peeing all over
stone piss.
A Sith trooper.
It hurts. Oh, well.
Right after Hux gets shot. He's in there.
I'm the spy. I knew it. That, for me, that was probably my biggest problem with the movie.
I did, it didn't.
It doesn't matter if you win. It just matters that Cargo doesn't win. Wow. And it was so dumb. Oh man, this is sure fitting together nicely.
But then it's like, to what end? And then Hux just gets killed.
Yeah.
He's got this I just want him to lose. You're like, okay, but he doesn't really lose in the end. He kind of gets what he wants and peacefully transfers into the good side.
What if all the Sith Star Destroyer employees been doing for all this fucking time?
That was kind of like, he's got what?
Like they got a lot of resources.
70 to 100 Star Destroyers that were made underground.
70 to 100. That was like 300 to 400.
Yeah, underground, and they're all staffed.
They're all bigger than the other ones. They're all
staffed with
they all
dudes
have their
who
own
I
laser
don't know. They
cannons.
were.
That's got to be a lot of inbred.
That was all lifted from the Thrawn trilogy, which there was the dreadnoughts and the
Sith dreadnoughts,
the slave circuits that slave them all to so it was really just more lazy writing where they're they grabbed a piece out.
Are you familiar with the Operation Cinder?
No. The only books I've read are the Thrawn trilogy.
That's a combination of the Aftermath books and the game.
The Solo twin books, when they first introduced the babies, and I was like,
No, that's not canon anymore.
It's stupid.
That's out. But in this, like a lot of Palpatine's deal is if I die, you guys wipe out everything. So the whole battle for Jakku is where they made like their last stand. They gathered like the remaining part of the fleet, and were like, if we lose, blow up everything, crash all the ships. Only one ship was supposed to make it out of there, and that makes it to the outer regions with Admiral Sloane. And then, and so I'm sitting in the theater like, so they brought one ship to the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden they have a floating cube on an electrified planet with Star Wars Star Destroyers underneath what appears to be ice, and a bunch of like little black hooded goblin guys in an arena.
Yeah.
Like just building the arena.
Who the fuck were they? The Council of the Emperor, and you know what they really love when the Emperor gets somebody in the arena. And man, do they? Because it's really not a lot going on. There's really not a lot going on that planet in between. Granddaughters, the various granddaughters coming through and getting killed by the Emperor.
But like, what was the point of the throne?
They didn't even.
No
He was
one
keeping
to
him alive.
rule
Didn't you
there.
see he was keeping him alive?
Not
the throne. Not the throne. Not the
The
throne.
throne was just rock. There was some machine thing.
Because you wouldn't know he's the leader
Like,
if he didn't have a throne. How
was-
else do you know
He
someone?
never sat on it.
That was right
was
out of
Ray.
Hellraiser 2. I think that JJ must be a big Hellraiser fan, because there was a couple of things about the Emperor and the Knights of Ren that were like really similar to Hellraiser, but like a really, sanitized version. Because like the Emperor, at the end of Hellraiser, this crazy doctor gets turned into an Emperor-like guy shoots snakes out of his hands, but he has this thing on his head that carries him around, and it
That's
was
the same
just
thing. Same
like
thing.
the Emperor's, his little attachment that walked him around.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested
and the
to
ghostly
know,
face and the zombie
Like,
eyes.
because the Emperor, for all intents and purposes, his body looked dead. So I was wondering if the machine he was hooked up to
Brought him back to life.
not brought him back to life, but it was just like sustaining his
Definitely
mind.
life support. It's not like he's doing it because it looks cool.
I mean, there's a bunch of tubes behind him for sure, but it didn't seem like he had the ability to walk because this thing was
It was
like,
hovering him.
Yeah. So I wonder if that
And he
just was
wanted
able to
Ray's
control
body.
like his brain.
Yeah, he did.
and
Yeah, he did. Those
She's a lesbian. Okay.
I'm interested
You
to
think so?
see
She's gotta
how
be.
his
You
think
body
so?
was even intact after that explosion. Because it's one thing if you're in an
space
explosion.
doctors.
How did he
When you're
shoot?
in an
How did he
explosion
shoot
on
lightning
top
out of
of
his
an
hands,
explosion
Steve?
in the middle of a vacuum of space.
How did he
like,
shoot lightning out of his hands?
He just thought really hard.
Does he have?
Well, you gotta show them how it's done. That's
Rub
the
your
thing
fingers
about
together, you
show
build that static
storytelling
electricity.
and say storytelling. You can't just say that it's space magic. You gotta show me the space magic.
I need it to be explained.
It's 20 degrees and I've got shorts.
Nobody can see the goddamn shorts.
Oh, dude, I posted them all over Instagram. Me and J.R. Moore had a field day.
You've got such a weird set of demands where you're like, oh, how did he survive
I
a
want to see.
fall?
I need to see like a force
Well,
bubble.
like I said,
I need to see like a fucking.
You know, honestly, they
roll.
They could have brought back Samuel Jackson, for the money, and
They
probably
did.
did
He's a voice
for like a second. But they could have brought, he only fell out of a window.
Dead. Oh yeah, I guess you're right. Hey,
Yeah.
if falling from 100 stories is no longer a death sentence, how many guys in the
Let
Star Wars
alone
universe
following
are doing
into a fucking reactor that
Luke
produces
falls.
power.
And
fine? He falls,
Empire
he hits the
Strikes-
ground, and goes ah.
Luke
Ow!
falls.
It just kind of ooh ah.
And he falls into a trash chute. It just happens to fall into a slide that perfectly decelerates him so that he doesn't
Right, what
break
was
his
it? Death
trash
Star's
is so
engineer.
hard,
splat.
yeah. Exactly.
Look, I want to build a trash chute, but I really like water slides.
Well, it's because
Let's meet in the
they
middle
got
on
sued
this.
by one of the stormtroopers who fell down there, and they go, "Listen, these guys are not really well educated,
Right.
so let's
They're falling in
just
on
in
him.
case."
But
emptying the waste bin with just documents and falls in.
But I guarantee you that'll end up in a comic or a novel. I think there's a lot of stuff, especially within Star Wars, to where they list out everything they need to do, and then they go, all right, that can be done in a comic book. That can be done in a comic book. This could be a novel. This could be a short story. Like, I think they divide shit out like that.
Yeah.
Because the Knights of Ren, I guarantee you will get a full comic book background. They're already doing a Kylo Ren one where he meets he meets some like warlord guy, and he's like, "You gotta pledge your life to the Ren," and he was like, "All right." And then he's like, "This is the Ren," and he holds up a red lightsaber, which presumably was Darth Vader's.
Even that, like his whole lightsaber thing with the wire and the string, like they could have just taken a second to,
They wanted to make it look a little different, like he made it,
Dude, one of the best things in the comic books.
It's a jump wire, so it's apparently he's hot wiring the lightsaber because he isn't strong enough with the Force. Because apparently
it did look a little, a little
It's just
uncontrolled,
stupid.
but
It looked like an electronic.
It looked like he built it at Radio Shack.
But one of the coolest
He might
things,
have.
you were making fun of the comic books. There's a comic book in which Darth Vader crashes on a rebel base planet, and all these rebels come out from like a half mile around,
Don't
right?
fucking hit Santa Claus.
And they
they
come
kill
out
him.
and they go, "Drop your lightsaber," and he's like, "No," and he goes, "I don't know if you've looked around. We have you surrounded." And Darth Vader goes, "All I see is dead men," and he fires up his lightsaber.
He
Fucking
throws it and it does
Yeah,
the spin.
Epic,
put
dude.
that in a comic
1
book because
million
how could you put that
decapitations.
in a movie?
Well, I don't know if you're
It'd be
aware of
too
this yet,
cool.
Ron.
We
It
gotta,
would be too.
Comic
we gotta
books,
pump the brakes with the
cheaper
cool.
to
We don't want
make
movies to
than
peak out in
movies.
2020.
How do
We don't leave some room to
there's-
grow.
There's no way to turn that into like a political statement.
Not the way
I
these
only
studios
want
run.
R-rated Star Wars from now on, dude.
An R-rated Star Wars
R-rated
movie.
Star
An
Wars.
R-rated Star Wars movie would
Just
be
lightsabers in the eyes.
It would make so
everybody.
much
Just
money.
boom.
That's in Jedi Fallen.
Bow!
Originally, you were supposed to
lightsaber in the
cut
eye.
arms and
Lightsaber
shit
here.
off of
Turn it
people.
on. Bow.
Did you ever see the picture of the Porgs? The Porgs are
Yeah.
looking at the lightsaber, and one of
Blows
them turns
that
it
off.
off.
Bingo.
And it kills.
More of that. More of that, please.
More dead Porgs.
more poor.
We got to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy. We got to put Tom Savini in that spot.
No, we got to put Quentin in
And
there.
we need to gore up Star Wars, dude. We need some adult. What are there? Only 8 fans of Star Wars that are under 9.
Why can't you do that? I mean, I don't understand why there has to be like, oh, we can only have a trilogy or just make
Make
movies.
for it, keep going.
Just
Yeah.
make movies and stop.
Check it out.
I think Hollywood definitely underestimates. They feel like, one, they need to make a movie that's going to make X amount of dollars, especially when
Yes.
it's a franchise movie.
Yes.
Number 2, they have this weird thing where they want people to come and see the movie and enjoy it, even if they haven't seen any other Star Wars movies.
Yes.
Which doesn't make sense. And they're also anticipating that everybody's going to buy one ticket and see it one time. Where the multiple of fans are like me and you have both seen it twice already. Like, how many people are seeing it multiple times and
lot.
want to see it multiple times?
I think, especially with Star Wars, there's a group of fans that no matter what happens to the franchise, they will always go back.
Yeah,
There's
sure.
nothing that could be done. Like, I took Last Jedi personally where I was like, this is so bad. Like, and here's the thing. I had a lot of people tell me, they go, Disney's going to ruin this. Disney is a soulless corporation. They will not handle this well. And I go, no, you're wrong, because Disney's got endless funds and they want to get a return on their investment. They go, no, but it's not going to have the soul. And I didn't listen to them. And then here we are now looking at it going like, they were right. Disney was not the...
Well, but maybe they'll have...
We should have... First of all, it should have just been let... Can we not... It's
damn
nothing
it.
sacred anymore. Can we not just leave things alone? Can we not just have Star Wars left alone? Leave it alone. Comics and books, fine. Leave it alone.
Why did you have to fucking...
We're only getting the side of your face. Here, let me rearrange this. Just
It's a little late now.
Yeah, dude, we've been sitting here
Well,
talking for...
Yeah, look at...
The first part of the episode started off with fucking an echo, a double audio echo.
Oh, great. So we have to record everything else.
No,
Let's go see
I
Star
corrected
Wars.
it.
I'll see it a second time. You see it a third time. We'll do... I'm going to bring the notepad,
No,
too.
we're
I'm
just gonna podcast in the theater.
I'm gonna take
This
this-
is what I'm talking
Bring the
about.
microphone
Right
here.
But
Can you
back-
guys
wait,
quiet? No!
What we were talking about is that it's the quipping, whereas they thought, like Robert Downey Jr. was really good,
That's the character, though.
but
That is Iron Man.
no, Tony Stark was not like that before Robert
Well, I
Downey
mean,
Jr.
I was not a comic book guy, and he's introduced to me in Iron Man 1, and Robert Downey Jr. is that guy.
Yeah, he is.
Right.
He is.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, now they want everybody to be.
Hey, listen.
Every character in the movie's got to be landing jokes.
If something works in Hollywood, get ready for it to be done to death. That's how it is from now on.
Well, that's
Did you get the whole audio of Star Wars? You've got to be kidding me.
dude. I'm calling
I,
Bob Iger.
First of all, I'm now scared to be in this room.
No shit.
Okay?
And the sad thing is that for one, I had it under my hat, and it didn't. Because I was on my little tray like this, and I didn't think it would impact the audio. But
You're
my
like
microphone
Rerun
on my phone
trying
is so
to record
fucked up.
the Doobie Brothers.
No, I was trying to record when all the Jedis were talking,
So you could pick up
figure
whose
out
line was
who
what.
it was and who said what. Because there was a whole list. A bunch of the guys from the cartoons were in it, like Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yep.
played Karen Janus. Ahsoka Tano was in it. Mace Windu was in it. I didn't know if that was Clone Wars animated Mace Windu or if it was Samuel. I think it was Samuel. Who, by the way, Samuel L. Jackson's Mace Windu was originally supposed to be played by Tupac. That's who George Lucas wanted originally.
What happened to him?
He moved on to better things. And
That checks out.
there was also
That
Liam Neeson.
checks out.
Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Alec McGinnis, and Ewan McGregor.
Alec Guinness, not McGinnis. He's not.
Oh, it's not McGinnis. My bad.
It's not related to Ronald McDonald.
Look, put some pants on it. Shut your mouth. But there was a couple others but I couldn't figure out what everyone was saying. I was a little disappointed that Anakin was. He wasn't the quietest of the voices, but he was at like a 2 where Luke was at a 1. Like the final voice that talked to her should have been
Anakin.
Yeah.
Because it's his story.
He should have been like, bring balance to the Force like I once did. One thing I was telling Ron is I thought that when Kylo gets stabbed and he gets healed up, instead of Han Solo being there, it should have been Anakin and Obi-Wan.
So, and I thought about this. Here's my biggest problem with the new trilogy. Because we got to start getting our, summation. Okay.
Yeah, because now it's concluded.
A lot of new characters introduced. None of them needed. None of them had any depth. None of them. The whole gang was just, for me, not great. And the way it played out, not worth my time. So here's and you guys help me with this. Here's my episode 7 beginning.
Okay.
We're taking Empire Strikes Back at its word. Okay? So we're now going to pick up where that left off, where there is no Empire right now. So this is going to begin the return of the Empire. It starts off with Luke training a new batch of young Jedis to reestablish the Jedi Order as he would have done as the Luke who, won the Battle of Endor. He would be training a new group of Jedis, and we actually have the movie centered around him and young Kylo Ren. And the next movie takes place 10 years after that. Okay, now Kylo Ren's pretty bad. He's getting the First Order put together. So we're not even calling it that either. We're calling it the Empire. Kylo Ren is like, no, my uncle's wrong. Order is the right way. We need to bring order to the universe. His ways. That's how we started. Started with it. Why throw out the characters we already know and love? Start the trilogy with the characters as old people handing it over.
Here's how I
no
think
Rey.
it should have gone.
She's canceled, dude. I've canceled Rey.
The original Star Wars ended with a father saving his son. He got right. So I think you start this new one off with Luke training all these kids in various ways at the Jedi Academy.
It'd be awesome. Imagine that scene where he's teaching these young kids how to do this awesome stuff, and a handful of kids.
Ben Solo is a traitor and leads all those kids to their
He gets
death.
half of them, and Luke gets the other half, and you actually have discussions going on about, is this the right way to live, or is this the right way to live?
No, I think you have all of those students, except for maybe like 2 or 3, get led off by Kylo Ren into a trap by the actually alive Emperor, and he kills all of them. So then you had a father's love for his son was strong enough to bring him out of the dark side, right? But a father's death, like the death of like 30 children to a dad.
Yeah.
Then that's where all the anger comes from. That's where all the rage comes from. And Luke's super powerful, and he goes full bore after Palpatine.
We don't find Palpatine is alive until the end of the first movie. So now we have a hook.
And in the second movie, he kills him, and then he gets all those Sith spirits into him.
And Luke's not the bad guy.
Then Luke's the most evilest evil. And
not only is the most evil, he's the strongest evil that the world has ever.
And the group of Jedi that didn't get killed,
and his life
plays
him. Out like his father's.
And he's got
God.
these new Jedi
Disney,
kids have
take
to stop.
notes. Shake the Edges sketch. Listen, you know what I want to see next year? A trailer for Star Wars Episode 7. Episode 7.
We're gonna get it right.
And here's the deal. Here's the deal. They go, what about the Ray and the what's his name? They go, what? Not even, dude. The memory
Here's
hold.
a question.
1984 memory hold.
How
They
long?
scrubbed the internet.
No,
How
this is
long
that.
do you think it'll be before they decide to reboot Star
Luke
Wars?
Skywalker is in the
nothing is
shower
sacred.
and he realizes it was all a dream.
What? He's in a mental health hospital, and they go, Mark Hamill, you were never famous. Mark, you were never
He's like,
famous.
no, I did the Joker. No, you are a
No,
Joker.
you
Yeah.
you're the most hated man here.
You're Carrie Fisher's drug
But see,
dealer.
that's the problem. Is like the big deal made about the end of the saga. It's like it's not.
It's
the
not
end.
at all in. Yeah, exactly.
It's
You were
not
right.
the
You were
end.
right when you were saying
because
that.
you're
They
setting up
created
movies
new
like
things.
right there. Like they took time in this movie to point to other movies they're gonna make.
I thought
And
that
I'm
they
like,
were trying to imply that girl was Lando's daughter.
I thought they were gonna go there, and if they did, I would have checked out, dude.
if he
'Cause
would
they
have been
kinda
like,
allude to
if he
moon.
would have like pulled it up on his little hollow
His
watch, and been
23
like,
and me.
this is you being born, girl, right here.
I must have
I
lost
got
a
it
bet.
in. You wouldn't even believe how many times I got it in my day.
I thought I
I'm
fucked
still getting
robots.
it. What do you think I'm doing at Space Burning Man? I'm getting it in.
I thought another thing was with like Hamill and Ian McDermott. I think they put on more weight than Disney was really like
They all
comfortable
did.
about.
They all
Because
did.
if you remember when
Well,
they
no.
told
See,
everyone
he
was
got in
coming
shape.
back,
See,
they made
that thing is
everyone
like
get in
he got in shape,
Yeah.
and then they were like, "Oh, but you're not going to do anything." So I'm sure he was like, "Well, then I'm not gonna do the Hugh Jackman
But
workout."
you always look fatter on camera is the thing. So even if he got in some good shape, the camera's unforgiving.
Well, this is a part like okay, so like the cameos. I was so sick of seeing J.J. Abrams' fat friend from Lost. And,
Yeah.
like they couldn't find enough fabric to cover that dude up with some,
Who is his fat friend?
He
from
was the guy
Lost?
that tells he was a Jedi. He's like an X-wing pilot, and he's in this like pile of fabric.
he's
Oh, is he-
he's the new Porkins.
Was he Snap
He's one of them.
something like that. The one that goes
Wexley?
the
Oh, Satan, a more humorous way.
Yeah,
of saying it.
exactly, that
Completely
guy.
optimistic.
in.
Well, that was him.
That was
Oh
him.
my
He's
God.
a child in those books. It talks about.
I
him in
don't
the books.
I don't care.
Expanded
Yeah,
universe.
like I said, when you
Okay,
read
so
the read-
cameos traditionally are used for really famous people to give a little bit of extra boost, a little bit of extra gleam to your movie. But what some people use cameos for is to put all their friends in there.
Yeah.
And he already did that. See, J.J. Abrams he's got a habit of driving things into the ground. Like with Star Trek, he took a Beastie Boys song, which was
Yeah.
like it was cool, almost cool one time, but he put it in 3 times in 3 different movies. And now I hate Sabotage, not because it's not a cool song.
Was it the
It
same?
doesn't
Did he
fit in
play
with
that
the
song
Star Wars
all 3
vibe
times?
or the Star Trek vibe at all.
It doesn't. It
if
doesn't.
you're an old school Star Trek fan, the beat it's not even in the same plane.
That's what we
of-
should do. Since I have all this video, we should re-edit Star Wars with all like hip hop and like
See,
rock ballads.
this movie would have
Thunderstruck when he gets in the trench.
Yeah.
It's
It would have benefited from a little Guardians of the Galaxy because
The
that's what
dad
people
rock.
want. Is have
great.
it-
It's nostalgic. It makes you feel good.
and
But that Snap Wexley guy, he's been in all 3 movies.
yeah, okay, and that was wasted cameos.
Well, no, he's a character that leads up to it.
Well, that's great. A character.
You just don't like seeing other fat guys. That's what
another
the problem is.
character that doesn't do anything and they don't give any lines. That's what cameos are for.
Yeah.
That's why you put really famous people. That's why you put Sammy Davis Jr. in there because he doesn't need to do a lot of stuff. His presence brings
Sammy
something.
Davis Jr. is dead, Ron.
Dude,
Well, hey,
so
but
is
we
the
have no
Emperor.
respect for the dead anymore. We
Yeah.
have no respect for the dead. If you're dead, Hollywood will use your dead old deleted scenes, and they will mention we got Marlon Brando in an X-wing. It's Marlon Brando.
That would have been
Do
great.
you
Frank
think,
Sinatra is one of the rebels.
seeing what we see now of Carrie, do you think they should have done like
That
the
was
Rogue
so bad,
One
dude. It
style?
was so
No,
bad.
no, they
First of all,
should've-
when we saw
they should've
Grand Moff
eliminated-
Tarkin in Rogue One, and you see its reflection in the window, if we had just left it at that, I would have been like, that was awesome. It was tasteful. Then when he turns around, he looks like a Pixar movie. I go,
He looked a little rough.
oh my god.
They try to get way too
Why
much out of
do
it.
they? Well, it's just the FX department is too high on their own shit, and it's like, dude, our brains can tell when something is fake. That's why I'm a big fan of practical sets. Do it old school. You got the money. And it's expensive to do.
In Mandalorian, there's been some Baby Yoda that's like it seems like it's clearly an action figure. You know
But
what
that's
I'm saying?
people like that, dude. And here's the thing: we're watching. First of all,
They
we're
just
already
throw
playing
it on the ground and
We're already playing
doesn't
pretend
move,
by
it
watching
just
it in the
bounces.
first place. We're already suspending our
Inanimate.
disbelief.
Like at least make it a Beanie Baby so it has a.
Have you
flop
ever
to it.
dropped a baby? That's what it's
Dude.
kind of like that.
all the
Yeah,
time?
it-
bud.
All right.
You lost track, Steve. You
Final
Okay.
thoughts. What are you gonna
before
rate?
we close out, I gotta ask Ron the burning 5 questions.
Okay.
Is this
that
your
I
first
asked
time
you.
on?
No.
I just didn't. I didn't remember him until I went in and started editing the podcast. And I
Okay.
remembered this is
The
a
first
thing.
one we didn't do Burning 5. He asked me,
Uh,
he says, why does everybody hate you? And I'm like, I don't know.
Ron, question.
I don't
number
hate
one.
you. I never hated you, but everybody does.
This I've talked to you, and I'm sure you're gonna be. This is actually a list of questions that me and my buddy Chris Canaster came up with when we were doing this podcast on the streets of San Francisco, in front of an open mic, and different comics would come over and smoke weed and drink with us.
Okay, yeah.
So anytime somebody popped in, we would just ask these burning 5 to kind of like bring
Spare
them back.
me the backstory, Lucas.
So the first one is have you ever had a paranormal encounter?
I live in a haunted house, dude.
This is something we've talked about.
No, because
What is the most paranormal?
dude? Okay, so this week I was down in my basement and I'm doing laundry.
And be serious
No,
about
this
this.
is serious.
Don't be
This is serious.
fucking
No,
funny
no, this
finger
is
with
serious.
this shit.
Because I'm down in my basement and I'm like, because like you can feel the ghost, okay?
No, I know.
And I was like, I'm down in the basement and I'm like, nah, I don't feel it. There's no ghost here. And I was like really brimming with confidence. And then, and I know people are going to say this is hokey because but I got woke up 3 times in the night by a saxophone song playing on my laptop. Now, my laptop, I have it all the time. I've never in, I don't know how many years of having my laptop open in my kitchen, had the same 3 saxophone tunes. Now maybe I've been hacked and somebody
No.
was messing with me, but it really was eerie. And I was like, because I had said there's no ghost here. And then what ghosts do is they can influence like electronic things. Okay, they can make lights flicker, and they can play Kenny G on your laptop if
Yeah.
they want to.
All right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm letting you. Do you
It just
feel
happened
like-
this week. It was really weird.
Do you feel like this ghost is relegated to one part of your house, or it has full range of the
I
house?
think that like whatever, there's something about the basement is
And you
because
live
like,
in an older house.
oh, it's
for
from
full disclosure.
the house was built in 1898.
Well, of course it's haunted.
Yeah, a lot of people have died in it, and I live right down the street from the Lemp Mansion, which is one of
Way evil.
one of the most famous haunted houses in the world.
Now, what's the most paranormal experience you've had in your house?
When I first moved in, I was laying in bed and like I got woke up by the radio being turned on really, really loud. And
You didn't leave it on loud. It
No,
just
it
okay.
just
So it's the
turned on.
volume and turning on by itself.
Yeah.
That's
And
that's
then
gross.
so then I'm like laying there and before I can get out of bed, like the wind just blows in my room and I can just feel this thing like in there with me. And like when I get up out of bed, it all stops.
That's yeah. Well,
Now, like some people say that's called sleep paralysis.
I was gonna say, are you sleeping when this happens, or
No.
you're just laying down?
I was woke up. I mean,
Okay.
a lot of things happen, you know.
And you had full functionality of your
Yeah.
arms.
Oh, and
like you
dude,
kind of sat up. In bed
I've
and was
never,
like, what the-
ever had a dream where I'm laying in the room that I'm sleeping in, and that it's lit perfectly like a normal room, and actual physical things happen. Usually, when I have a dream, it's like, you know, it's a lot more weird and like a Dali painting where things are all bizarre,
Melty and
melting.
weird, yeah.
One thing leads to another, and I'm seeing Frankie, and I turn over here, and things are different.
Have you ever felt like it's tried to communicate with you or anything, or is it just
Yeah.
does
trying to say that it's there?
I've felt like it's, you know, like any time that I've like felt like defiant of the ghost, like that, like one time where it really, like this was in a dream, but it was a really like I'm dreaming that I'm looking like out a window and I'm seeing out of like where I grew up where I lived in Kirkwood when I was a teenager. And then I see the ghost outside of that window, and it's a woman with no face wearing a denim
skin?
dress. No, like a mannequin.
Okay, so like
fabric.
like a nose but no eyes and mouth.
No, like just like a totally a nose.
Yeah, like
but no eyes and mouth.
the suggestion of a face.
And I was like, and I kind of had like a Dan Aykroyd moment where I was like, oh yeah, this is bullshit, and I was gonna get her, right?
No.
I was gonna get her.
Nope.
And then
That sounds like the Ron kind of thing to do.
And then, like, when I go to get her, I'm, like, thrown, and this is in the dream, obviously, I'm thrown back across the room, and I wake up, and I fall out of bed, and I am screaming, like, ah! Never, ever in my life have I ever screamed, ah! Like waking up from this dream about a ghost in my house. Like there's just certain things that are more tangible when it's me interacting with a ghost, whereas when I'm just dreaming about stuff, it's like I would dream about this podcast, but things would be weird. It wouldn't be like I'm sitting
abstract.
Yeah, it
You
wouldn't be
can
like,
tell the difference.
Yeah,
you can tell the difference.
Okay. Question number 2: do you believe in aliens?
Sure, hell yeah.
Have you ever had an alien encounter, or?
No. One time though, I was driving through New Mexico. Okay.
That's where it happens. That's
where it
where it happens. This story checks out already.
And it was really late at night, and this is really, it's just one of those like non-things, but it was really late at night, and I'm driving down the highway, and I see something fly over the road at at about the height of power lines, and I saw the shadow and everything go over the road, and it was about as big as a P-51. Like, you know what a P-51 is, right? It's there was a plane in World War II.
Okay.
So a P-51 Mustang. But it was black. There's no way it was a plane flying this low in the pitch black of night.
Right.
And it was just one of those, like, I don't know what it was, but I know I saw this object that was this big. And, dude, I grew up in the Air Force, so I've been looking at planes my whole life and obsessed with planes. So, I know the difference between what a plane flying and trash, or something that isn't a plane, or that something funky lights or something. I saw a physical object fly over the road that was just too low and too fast for anything other than some kind of craft. But under the conditions, there's no way somebody would have been flying a plane that low.
It's like the ghost where you can sense when something's different. It's just your brain knows when something's off from the norm.
Like with Carrie Fisher's scenes.
Like with Carrie Fisher's scenes. They brought that dead body back to life. We all knew what was going on.
Some of the times when you see her, I was like, okay, this is all right. And then other
they
times
went too far, though.
Like,
they pushed it too far. They could have done it for one scene, and we would have forgiven them. But how many scenes did they try to do it in? 9?
Well, if they would have did, the thing where they had her and then she goes down and like what, that mechanism of the story, that's fine. But they tried, just like you're saying, like, I like you, Ray.
Yeah. I don't know what to do. I'm full of it. And then it's like one. It's like, okay, really okay to all that. It's okay.
Let's hug twice.
Yeah.
Right.
I love you.
Question number 3. What conspiracies do you believe in other than 9/11? Because 9/11 is the most popular response we've got.
Well, I mean, there's a ton, dude.
What is your number 1?
Like, what conspiracies do I, like, what are we talking about?
That you think are true, that the majority of public think are nonsense.
Or just you don't know that anyone would even be aware of them?
That ISIS is a CIA operation. That's one of my personal conspiracies, because if you, it's like, here we go into Iraq, which is a total shithole country, and we stop the shit out of them, and we destroy all their water and everything. But now we don't really have a reason to be there anymore, right?
But we still are.
But we still are.
Yeah.
So it's like, we need some instant bad guys. Get some brown dudes, wrap some black fabric around their heads, and have them kill some other people on film. I always watch those terrorist videos because I want to make sure somebody sees it and make sure the uncanny valley isn't there. So, you know, you know what? If somebody cuts off a guy like Daniel Pearl's head, somebody needs to make sure that, you know, that I can't go, well, I'm too squeamish. This guy got murdered. You know, he got murdered. And it's my responsibility to watch, you know, to make, you know, to carry that story forward. To, you know, so it doesn't become some anecdote or something that people don't care about. That guy got his head cut off.
And it just disappears from the memory.
Yeah, and,
like
and nobody
happened.
cares. Well, I still care.
Yeah.
I still care.
That's scary, dude, but that's how the world is now.
So I watched those ISIS videos, and like I saw the shift where like they really killed a few people, and then like I saw one where they made it, and it was like they shot a rocket launcher at a car, and I could tell that they were mannequins in the car, just by the way that they, you know, like people move, you know, and these heads are not moving, their shadows aren't moving. You know, the physics of light isn't working. Those are mannequins. And they, you know, I'm like, this is an op. This is all bullshit.
Okay.
And people are like, oh no. And now you got your rednecks from everywhere like, ISIS, Donald Trump stopped ISIS. So it gives them this ready-made bad guy that doesn't really exist. It's right out of Wag the Dog, man.
That's absolutely right. Think about how in our lifetime we just were forced to believe this caricature of just the terrorist.
Yeah.
And guess what? They're all terrorists. And
they-
so now you got the average guy going, well, I don't care. They're all terrorists.
It's ISIS.
Yeah, it's ISIS. God bless Trump for, and it's like,
We got to get them. We got to, you know, so, you know, we spend trillions of dollars, and the common person never questions anything beyond, where did ISIS come from? And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, ISIS, we're at battle with ISIS. We're like, no, dude.
yeah, no.
Iraq ran out of gas, but the people making the money off of all the stuff that gets sent to Iraq is, I mean, you know what the biggest conspiracy theory? It's called the Vietnam War, dude. And we spent, you ever, like, these grouchy white dudes, they'll spend $1 trillion to kill a brown person, but they won't fucking spend a dime to buy a Band-Aid for someone in America. You know, so there's your, you know, I like when I was 21, I was camping in Tucson for like a couple months. A really beautiful place called Mount Lemmon. Go there if you ever get the chance. But there was this, you know, when you camp out at places, you meet fringe people. And there was a guy camping out on Mount Lemmon who was telling me, you know, then it was the New World Order, right? George Bush said something about the New World Order, and all the fringe conspiracy guys were like, New World Order's coming. Get your machine guns, get your camper, and fill it with meth. We're all going to Alaska. We're going to wait this out. Well, here we are, you know, freaking 20 years later, you know. There's no new... I mean, if there is, they're so far beyond us, you know. Like, no camper rebellion is going to make a difference. Here's another one. This is a common one, though, but the Waco, that was bullshit.
Yeah.
The government just killed those people. They ginned it all up to kill them. You know, like, who in Texas doesn't have a big bunch of guns? They all have guns, you know. And I know they were selling them and whatever, but they weren't selling them on any level where they needed to send the ATF with a tank down there to blow flames in and kill children.
Okay.
Okay?
That was all broadcast on TV.
Columbine, you want to talk about Columbine?
Hold on. Not every conspiracy you've ever known, just the most popular.
Those were one. Well, no, that's one that fell out. Like, there was a lot of people that were convinced that the Columbine kids were Manchurian candidates that had been brainwashed by the CIA to go in there and do that just to see what effect it would have on people.
Well, and to also set the precedent that you're not safe anywhere. Because we need people to not believe they're safe anywhere, because that's how you usher in a ridiculous amount of control over our day-to-day life. After 9/11, you got the TSA. Complete violation of your rights every time you get on a plane. I mean, dude, this, and here's the thing you talk about the New World Order. Here we are 20 years later, nothing happened. Yeah, but look what has happened.
Yeah, look what has happened.
I was going to say, and we're not ever going to revolt because we're too fat and happy. We're all doing drugs and jacking off to porn and watching sports. Why would we revolt? Why? Until we can't go to Walmart and get our groceries, nothing will change. And they just one drip at a time.
Yeah,
and it will. And we're dealing with people who work on a biblical scale where they will take their time. And by the way, the idea of a small group of people or one guy ruling the world, that's been around since the beginning of time. That's been a goal.
Santa Claus.
I'll do it.
He
I'll
rules the
do
world.
it. I'll do it.
Well, this goes into your next question. Do you think that masturbation causes bad luck?
Probably. Probably.
You'll never get a no
because
on
it
that.
gives you like it saddens your aura.
That's right. That's what I said.
Because
That's
your
what I
aura's
said.
just like I can't really get sex.
Yeah.
And then it just spreads out from there. Your chakras cry.
You never finish and go, yeah! never. It's always just, oh, jeez.
We're gonna do
What
it.
have I done?
Yeah, it's like
And
That's how the
how quickly you
montage
turn the porn
starts.
on. You look at it for 2 seconds, you go, oh my, what's happening? No.
Who were these people?
I don't know them.
Well, speaking of which,
Is there a
question
no
number
porn list?
5: have you ever been with a prostitute?
no.
What are your
Not that I
feelings
know.
towards prostitution?
I think prostitution should be legal because it would provide the sex workers with a network of resources so that they wouldn't be exploited as much, and they would help with the child trafficking and the human sex trafficking because they would have, there's a huge stigma behind sex work, so they're not really likely to report crimes. If they had a network, if they had a union, they would report these things and it would help a lot. So I'm totally for prostitutes. I don't understand in a capitalist society how selling your one singular possession is illegal other than to ensure the black market. And I think that's what it's really about. Illegal prostitution is to make sure sex workers don't have any resources and are dependent on the pimp system. And dude, I'll take you up to North St. Louis. It's weird, like, because it was in the 20s a couple weeks ago, and then in one day it went from like 27 to 50 in a couple of hours. And as soon as it hit 50, all the hookers come out.
Yeah.
And like I'm driving, and I roll my window down because it's nice out, and I pull up to the stop sign, and all of a sudden I hear, "Hey, hey, hey, hey! Come on over here, sweetie!" And I look over, and it's like 2 grandmas standing by a Taurus, and I'm like, "Oh shit, I gotta go." So then I start driving away, and there's another prostitute in the middle of the street, and she's like doing the prostitute dance, like you want
Hooker
some?
shuffle.
And I'm like, no,
war dances.
The hooker
no,
shuffle.
no. And then I get down to the next block, and there's a hooker just collapsing in the middle of the street for something. And I'm like, in North St. Louis, when the hookers hit the ground, get the hell out because
With the hookers
Danger!
in town,
Yeah.
Graham,
Danger, Will
you get out of
Robinson.
town.
Thank you for finishing
All right.
my rhyme.
That'll wrap it up then for this edition. You've answered the hot
The
five,
Hot Five.
and
It's just like the Daily Show,
it is.
except it only happens once a
Our
week.
five's hotter.
Now
Those
we
are
have-
better questions.
Can we have a
Those are
moment
good
of
questions. silence for all the people that have,
Reiki? No, I was trying to steal another.
Careful, my mom does Reiki, dude. She'll come up here and pull you by the ear.
Pull me by the chi.
All right.
She'll pull my
She'll
chakras right
take you to
out.
Kohl's and buy you some pants.
Fuck pants, man. who the fuck are you, Rob Durham's like fucking
Yeah.
fluffer? Oh, you gotta wear pants everywhere. It's so you're a professional. Why don't you sell one of his books?
I did.
listen,
Always wear pants with Steve. Otherwise,
don't ever take your pants off with Steve.
because he's always wearing sweatpants.
I'll give you
One
the
pair of
worst
pants
bad
for the
luck
rest of
you've
your
ever
life.
seen, bud.
You're not recording anymore, so I'm not giving you any more.
Are we done?